let's get real. Welcome to TBC Today. This podcast features friends in and around the Triad Baptist Church community. Hear encouraging real-life stories from our weekly guests and inspiring insights from our host, Pastor Rob. To learn more about Triad Baptist Church in Kernersville, North Carolina, visit us online at tbcnow.org.
Today is Elizabeth Barker, and I'm going to let her tell her story because it's a pretty incredible story, and we're excited to have her here as our guest on TBC Today and to have this conversation. So, Pastor Rob, are you ready to get real?
I'm ready to get
real.
real.
All right, let's do it.
We're going to turn over the sands of time here, Elizabeth. And do you go by Elizabeth?
I do.
Okay. Hey, thank you for coming today. We are very excited about having you here today. And I just want to say this up front. When I first read your story, I almost couldn't believe it. All the things you'd been through, all the things you're up against. And so my heart's passion was, let's get that story out there. Let's let people hear what the grace of God can do and how it can work in a life. So why don't you start by telling us a little bit about your upbringing and how you ended up where, well, let's say into a foster home.
Okay, absolutely. So I was born to a mother who was addicted to drugs to start with. At 6 days old, I was placed in a foster home. My foster parents, they just took care of me for 4 years, not knowing if I was going to live and die because I had a hole in my heart. I only have one valve, that is mine. I have 3 other artificial valves. So at 4 years old, they seen I was going to live, so again, they were able to adopt me. I was adopted. They adopted me.
Where is this at?
Oh, Concord, North Carolina.
Concord, okay.
Yeah. So I have 2 adopted brothers as well. But they continued to keep foster kids for 25 years after that. Over 200 kids come and go throughout my life. Some were there a day.
Wow.
Some were there for years. And I think that's kind of where I learned how to just not get close to people. If you get close to them, then you have a chance of getting hurt. So I kept my distance from that.
From when you say from that, from who? From the family?
Like from the kids coming and going, because I would get attached to them. Like they would be there for months at a time. You get to know them. They tell you their stories. You watch them come in. Some are coming in from being abused. Some are coming in from not listening for discipline reasons. Either way, they still need love and acceptance. And I didn't want to keep getting hurt, so I would distance myself.
How did you distance yourself? Like, what did you do?
Anger, mean. At other times, I felt grateful that I wasn't in that position, that I had someone to love me, and that I wasn't going to get sent away. But then just the hurt. I think that's when I realized that I didn't like being hurt.
Did that affect the way you treated your parents or adopted parents? Or no?
No, not
So
my parents. More the kids.
Mm-hmm.
And that has tended to follow me throughout my adulthood as well. Like, I put walls up.
Yeah.
Getting close to people is something I don't like to do.
But you didn't do it with your foster parents, but you did it with the kids.
Yes, I did.
Well, it seems like you'd be able to pick, okay, I'm going to open up to this person, or I'm not going to open up to this person.
I can. If I feel myself getting attached to you, I will put up a wall up. God has slowly taken that down because of the position that he has put me in, to be able to turn around and help women through the ministry that helped give me life through Christ, So he's slowly working on that. But that's another hurt that we develop throughout our life.
Yeah.
So what did you know about your biological parents? Did you know anything about them? Or?
I know absolutely nothing about them except for what they look like and their health issues.
Okay.
And
did you ever try to get in contact with them or anything? No.
No.
Okay.
That is not something that has I've been interested in doing. I was loved. I was healthy.
And you were happy?
I was happy. Yeah. You're right. I didn't know any better. That's the way I was brought up, So
that's good enough. If you're loved and
that's right.
They care about you, you don't have to know everything. Even the biological didn't drive you to say, I wish I would know why they didn't take me?
No.
I guess you could figure it out.
Probably.
You could probably figure it out because your mom was on drugs, right?
Correct. I didn't know a lot of this until I turned 17. At 17, I got pregnant and had my first child. So they had to release a lot of my medical issues. And that's the only way I found out certain things about my parents.
Well, kind of tell us there, when did you feel yourself kind of changing, like at 15, 16, what would happen there during those years?
So it's I was 14 and boys, just coming to high school, went on my first blind date, and it was to church. I was raised in a Christian family. I don't know, things just, life happens. It's hard to say. We just got into a serious relationship. I got pregnant at 17. We were still together. At 19, I got pregnant again with my second child. We got married finally.
At 19?
At 19, yes. Then had an ectopic pregnancy. I also had a miscarriage. And then I had my third living child, in 1998.
1998.
1998,
Okay.
yeah.
25 years ago.
25 years ago, yeah. He just celebrated his birthday.
Really?
In December, yes. Yeah.
So what's going on? You're 19, you're pregnant the second time. Are you still at the foster care home, parents' home?
Yes, I was still living with my parents. They were taking care of me and my kid. I had graduated high school. During high school, I took cosmetology. So when I graduated high school, I was able to go work at a salon. So that's what I done.
Did you, well, let's just talk about the foster parents. Did they just kind of like unconditional love at that point? They just accepted you and just said, come on home and we'll work this out. We'll get through this.
I never left. They never kicked me out, not one time. Wow. And even when I got married, they invited my husband just so that they wanted to just be there for us, I think.
These sound like incredible people to just have their home so open to so many different people.
Yeah, they were.
Yeah.
They were.
And you knew them. I mean, that's all you ever knew because you were so young.
Knew. Yeah. That's all I ever knew.
Yeah.
And I just felt so lucky as the stories I would sit in my room at night and listen to people tell me. Yeah. I didn't have a dad that would come in my bedroom. I didn't have to worry about that. I didn't have to worry about somebody taking me or me not wanting to listen.
Right.
I had that.
How old were you when you found out you had been adopted?
I was 8.
Okay.
Being nosy, going through my parents' room when I shouldn't have. But
how did that affect you, though?
It didn't.
It didn't? Okay.
It didn't. I was it was like, okay, what are these papers? Well, what is this, Mom? Well, what are you under my bed for? But they were open about it, you know? Yeah. Well, this is why. They never said you can't contact them, but that want to was never there.
Yeah.
So you're 19.
Mm-hmm.
You kind of go out on your own.
Yes, at 19 I get married.
And
3 months after we were married, we moved into a trailer, and then I was
Concord
working,
still?
No, Rockwell.
Rockwell, not far.
No, but like 45 minutes.
Yeah.
From that point, I worked in a hair salon. My husband was a truck driver, so he was gone. My parents still was there for me with keeping the kids. I did that until 2001, when my husband decided that he was done. He didn't want to be married anymore, that he didn't have the life that he had wanted, so we split up. During our marriage, we drank, but it was never an issue for me. It was a beer here or there, a glass of wine with dinner. It was never an issue. When he left, I can remember it became an issue. That's when the alcohol started taking over my life.
What was that like? Just wanting to forget, or what was?
Yeah, it would numb me to the point I would pass out, and then I would wake up days later, and it would.
How would you survive even financially then?
During this time, we had sold our house that we had bought together, and I blew through it within 3 years. Mm. I ended up losing everything I had. And
never worked then either?
Off and on. I was a manager of a hair salon, so I could go in, kind of keep it together, but there were days that
What were your kids doing?
They were with my parents.
Okay.
Yeah. I can remember that one year my husband come to get my daughter for her birthday, and he took the kids. He'd been gone for a year, and he come back, and he never brought them back, but we had never finalized the court issue either. And so at that point, I lost custody of my kids. My parents couldn't even help me with that because they were the ones raising them anyway.
Did that have a dramatic effect on you?
No, because the drugs were more important at that time. Mm. It's like
so you kind of went from alcohol into drugs.
Both.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I can remember taking a friend to score some cocaine, and he was like, well, thanks for taking it. He said, do you want to try it? And I was like, sure. And it was done. Like, it was over. And it just got worse from that point. It's just like a spiral effect.
It's immediate relief, though.
It is. It's immediate relief until 5 or 10 minutes later until you need more. And then the needing more. And I still worked in the hair salon.
While you would be high?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I would go in the bathroom.
What did people's hair look like when they come out?
Probably not good. But to me, it looked great because it was the state of mind I was in.
You were like euphoric.
Right.
Everything's great.
Yes, I was great. Everyone else had the issues. It wasn't me.
Did
with
you
You
the
mean
get to
even
see
your
your-
customers?
like they're the feel like they have a complaint. It's them
not
because
you.
in my mind, I done everything right because I'm high as a kite.
Yeah.
Did you want to see your kids, or did you get to see your kids any? Or
I would want to see my kids, and I would try to make attempts to see my kids.
Yeah.
But again, the drugs are more important.
because you had no relationship with your
None.
ex-husband.
None. Oh no.
Okay.
No.
So how long were you allowed to go like that?
Oh, I probably went like that, seeing my kids off and on here and there until my oldest was 14, so 5, 6 years.
5, 6 years?
Yeah.
And then it just crashed?
It was done. They said, we're done. I can remember my oldest son standing in the road saying, we want absolutely nothing to do with you. The only time we talk to you is when we need something from you, and you can't give us nothing right now. I will never forget those words.
I can tell you feel that. That's
Yeah.
tough.
Yeah, because to this day I remember that. But once again, God's restored that relationship too. So
like you were in a state of mind where you really understood the impact of what the drugs were doing.
yeah,
Was that a catalyst for you to shift?
I knew what they were doing, but there was nothing I could It's hard to explain until you've been there. The drug is so much more powerful than anything you can ever imagine. I mean, it makes you forget about everything. And I did this for 18 years. I can remember my mom getting sick, and I wasn't there for her. One incident that I do remember that I do want to speak on because it's by the grace of God that I'm alive. During my addiction in 2007, March 2007, I remember to the day, March 3rd, 2007, I'd been out on a 4-day binge, prostituting my body, and got out of the car, and this gentleman let me out, and he went up the street, and he turned around, and he come back, and he hit me with his car. He put his car in reverse and ran back over me, left me dead in the street, 2 broken arms, a skull fracture, nothing. I can remember waking up in the hospital and my parents and their pastor being there. It was my final days, basically. But again, God kept me alive for a reason. But even that wasn't my end of it all.
So that wasn't even a wake-up call.
That wasn't, that was just a time to rest, basically. Because I can still went out with a cast on my arm, barely able to walk, getting high, drinking.
So what was that turning point in your life?
Whew,
Or what led to that?
The turning point was, so I lost my mom, and then that was in 2015. In 2017, I had come out of prison, and I went back to stay with my dad, and I ended up losing everything he had, his car, his house. He enabled me. My dad was one of my biggest enablers. There was nothing I could do that was bad enough for him to kick me out.
So, and you had been in prison.
Come home. He knew he knew about the drug addictions.
Yeah.
I mean, he was the one who would come sign my bond time after time.
So was it related to getting drugs? Is that how you ended
Yes.
up in prison?
Mm-hmm. It was. I was always. It was either drug paraphernalia. I have 3 drug charges against me, felony trial charges. I have other child support charges. My record is horrendous, but again,
It's still, you don't care.
I still don't care.
Even in prison.
Even in prison.
Even when you're sober.
Even when I'm sober, I try. Like for a matter of seconds, I try. But again, the ability just to wipe it all away for a few minutes. And you don't think about that when you're doing it. When you're getting your drug ready to use, you don't think about, oh, this is only going to last a few moments, because you don't have those tools to think it all the way through. You just act on how you have been taught and the habits that you have for your whole entire life. So when you're doing this, nothing matters. Nothing matters. Even when you're sober, it's the excitement. You get that excitement of, oh, I get to get high. Oh, I get to get a drink. It's the routine. It's what we're used to. And until we break those habits, that's what continues it.
Well, like if you're in prison, though, and you can't get the drug or you can't get high, doesn't something in there teach you to say, this is hard to get through, but it's a better way to live? You don't think that way then?
You can, and you do sometimes. And you come out, but as soon as it's offered or you have those phone numbers or you have going right back to the same situation, it's the people, places, and things that are around you that are the same, that never change. If you don't change them, you're never going to change.
So what did you do? What did you do to change it?
The state said it was time for me to get help. In 2018, October of 2018, I tried to take my life. I took a bunch of pills. And only from having a seizure am I alive today. I was sent to a hospital in Catawba County where I stayed for 10 days. And you're going to get help or you're going to a state mental hospital.
Who found you? I mean, you weren't
I was on
by
the side
yourself?
of, no, I was in a laundromat parking lot.
Okay.
I didn't care
And
who
just
seen me.
somebody...
Yeah, I was just laying out in the middle of the parking lot, and I just started having a seizure. I was known a lot by a lot of people around town.
In Catawba County?
No, in Cabarrus.
Cabarrus.
Yes, Catawba is where they sent me when...
That's Hickory?
Hickory area. They have a good hospital up there.
Yeah.
Catawba Valley. So I did that, and no one would take me there because of the epilepsy. Or they just didn't have the facility and the staff that could care for that type of issue. And coming off of the drugs and alcohol, there were a lot of seizures from withdrawals from the not normal part of my life that I was used to.
How long had you had epilepsy?
I developed the epilepsy in 2007
Okay.
when I got hit by the car.
Yeah.
I got a phone call. Cindy, I've had called Tabitha's. I talked to her. I don't even remember the interview. But I remember her calling back, they said, on Thursday, and they told her I had been discharged, that I was no longer there. And so she called back on Friday morning and said, are you sure the girl I talked to is not there? And he said, no, she's here. And would you like to offer her a bed? And she did. Mm. And they said they would come pick me up on Monday. Wow. So on Monday, I met Myra and Cindy from Tabitha's ministry, and that was the changing point of my life. Like, not at that very moment, but it would lead to me falling in love with Jesus. Yeah. And that's what they do, is they offer a place for women to come and fall in love with Jesus, who is the ultimate healer.
Yeah, that's incredible. So they share Christ with you while you're there in the Tabitha home? Yes.
So during, you come in, and in the first year, there's no cell phones, there's no cars. You're very intense care.
Like round the clock almost.
Round the clock, yes.
So you can't run.
You can't go nowhere. If you're not teachable anymore and you're ready to walk out that door, no one's going to hold you there. You've got to want this for yourself. And at any point that they see that you're not putting your effort into it, it's okay. But they're going to love you where you're at. That's the whole point.
So what was different this time, though, that you did want help and that you did stick to it?
So this is the thing. When I got sent there, I wasn't going on my own free will. The state told me I was going to get help. But watching the ladies that had been through the program and the ladies that were there with me, I started to see the change in them. And I wondered what they had. I finally seen hope through somebody who had Christ. It's not about me wanting it. It's what we offer to others through us. Mm-hmm. And that's why it's so important for us to be the light of Christ, you know? Because others watch, and you don't know they're watching, but they are. Yeah. And watching those ladies that had been through that program and that were there with me, seeing them start to come to life, knowing it was possible. Because for 18 years, all I seen was the streets and a pipe and a bottle, an empty bottle. It's all the hope I had. But I had a different hope this time of succeeding. I had nothing left. Nothing.
That's incredible.
Yeah.
Just the power of someone else's testimony that they could change gave you hope to change yourself.
Yes.
And then you saw the reality of Christ lived out in them, like they literally lived it. They weren't perfect, but they
Right.
lived it out.
Right. And that's the whole thing.
What were some things you saw, like kindness or what?
The director, she will get upset, like Cindy would get upset with us, but she's not going to just take it out on us. She's going to love us exactly, even though we make mistakes. She's going to teach us how not to act like that. I can remember being angry. I was angry and threw stuff and like would just lose my temper. She didn't get mad about that. She still loved me. It wasn't acceptable, but she showed me where I went wrong and gave me tools to help me get better, to want to change those habits I had into new habits.
What was her name again?
Cindy Wagner.
Now, Cindy Wagner, had she been through something like this, or did she just have a passion for people like you?
No, she went through abuse and other things, and drug and alcohol addiction as well. She started Tabitha's ministry through a prison ministry. She did prison ministry through the prison system, and she would watch these ladies while they were in prison, but when they got released, they had nowhere to go. They were right back into the same situation that we were talking about earlier. You go back to the same people, places, and things. So she wanted to offer women coming out of addiction and coming out of prison somewhere to go to learn a new way to live and cope with things. But it doesn't have to be the same way.
How long was her journey?
For her, the whole time she was alive. She passed away in December of
Did she?
last year.
Oh,
Yes.
wow.
She passed away.
And she started that whole thing.
She started that whole thing.
What a tribute.
Yes.
It's still going on.
Yes.
She's still investing in people's lives from the
Yes.
other side.
Yes, she will.
It's just so cool.
Yes, she will continue to do that.
Yeah.
But through her, I can, I see life. I'm able to, in September of last year, she brought me on as outreach director. I get to coordinate events and stuff with the ladies and just allow us to share what God's done for us and share my testimony through dance and speaking. And not only that, throughout this whole time in 2007 as well, I lost my license and continued to drive on a revoked license. My license were permanently revoked. They told me I would never drive again. September 1st of 2021, I own a pair driver's license, and I drive for the ministry.
Isn't that cool?
That's great.
That is the
Right.
grace of God.
That is nothing but the grace of God.
Yeah, that's
So
so
backtrack
cool.
a little bit though and tell us, because you told us about your road kind of to healing.
Yeah.
What's your road to redemption? How did you get saved? How did you come to know
So
Christ?
I grew up in church. My mom and dad were very active in church. Even when I was married, I went to church. I just walked away from God. But I didn't have a relationship with God either. I didn't know Christ as one-on-one. It was
Right.
just a religious thing. I fell in love with Jesus at Tabitha's. Whew, I can remember we took a beach retreat and sitting on the balcony and staring out at the ocean, and literally before my eyes was night and day. On one eye, right here was light and right here was dark. And everything just become alive at that point.
Wow.
I just dug into his word. I just had, during this year, I had that time to dig into the Bible and learn what Christ says about me, not what everybody else says about me.
Wow.
You were doing that on your own.
Yes. Yeah.
It's incredible.
That's
Yeah.
incredible. That is. Just
Yeah.
wonderful people over there. I mean, I know Vita the best, but
Yes.
I'll tell you what, just the heart and passion they have for people is just so cool. We support them as a ministry from
Yes.
our church, and we got to do more now, is what I'm seeing, because it's incredible the way that you could love people by example and tell them the truth. Yeah. It's grace and truth. It's not just grace, we're going to love you, but it's also truth too. Right. We're going to tell you the truth.
Yes.
And so that's powerful.
Yeah. God is truth. And if we're children of God, we have to be honest. I mean, you don't have to be brutally honest and hurt people. There's a way to be honest with people.
Yeah.
And I promise you, they're going to get it a lot easier than you knocking them down.
Mm.
So when did you start working for Tabitha's Ministries?
September 1st of 2021.
Okay.
I graduated October 19th. Oh, wow. And that's a story in itself. So when I graduated from Tabitha's, I was offered a job at DJ Powder Coating. No job interview. No application was filled out. Sight unseen. I met his father. He said, this is what you're going to be doing for my son. And the only requirement was that I needed a second chance, that I had a criminal history, and I needed a second chance. That was the only thing that I needed to have. And I had that. And I am still there as of today.
Yeah.
At the powder coating, plus working at
Tabitha's ministry. Wow. Yes.
So tell us, where are we today? Is your dad still living, and what's your relationship with your kids? And
yes, absolutely. So my dad passed away January of 2021. 2021 was a rough year.
So he got to see you on...
He did, but he had Alzheimer's.
Okay.
He remembered me as a little girl, because I remember him every time I would go to see him. And again, something Tabitha's ministry done. They made sure I got to see my father before he passed away. Yeah. And they were there during that time. During all those reconciliations of my relationships, they were there. But I did get to see him, and I would tell him, I'm sober now, Dad. I'm a Christian. I'm a follower of Christ. Life is different. But I don't think he really understood that at the point he was at. Mm-hmm. But it's okay. He knows now. Yeah. He's watching down from heaven, so he knows. He knows. And my oldest son, I was just at his wedding. I just attended his wedding.
Wow.
And
open arm.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, I was there. I made sure I had sit in the mother of the groom's seat. And I wasn't even expecting that, because I wasn't there for him. But now I can be that mother he deserves. My daughter, she hasn't come around yet. But, I'm not done living yet. God's still working,
Yeah.
God's still working. He works every day. And then in February, my youngest son will be having my first grandbaby. And I get to be a part of both of that.
Yeah.
So it's pretty awesome. They come and I see my kids and talk to them weekly.
Yeah.
So, and I went 10 years with nothing.
I love that you said it's not over yet, because really, each day we have the opportunity to do something to make ourselves better and to get closer to Christ and to draw other people closer to Christ.
It's our choice.
So I love that attitude that, it is our choice, and, it's early in this new year, and, are we going to take the opportunity to really pour into other people and into Christ as opposed to ourselves?
And
that's hard to do.
I continue to think of it like, this girl is not real. like she's some kind of guardian angel that came in here. She's going to walk out and disappear. Yeah. And there's no way this story could be true. Every time I read it, I just am amazed. It's just amazing to me. Just the things you say without ever saying them. You're just speaking the gospel out of your life, that it changes lives. And there really is a prodigal, and you really can come back, and you really can be used to God, and you can turn your life around. Yeah. That's an amazing story to me. And I've never seen it so extreme, and how you shouldn't even be alive. Yeah. And it's unbelievable. So, hey, thank you for being here today. It's wonderful. It's wonderful. Exactly what I wanted.
What kind of hope and encouragement would you tell our listeners who may be struggling with something similar? It may not be the same thing, but something similar in their life.
Talk to God. Develop a relationship with Christ. Ask others that are there who have been through situations that you know of. Find something different. God says in his word, seek, and you will find. Mm-hmm. If we don't seek it, we're not going to find it. If we don't knock, it's not going to open. Doors will open for you if you knock on them, and God will make sure that it's the right door. And if it's not, he'll shut the ones that aren't. Yeah. But we never know until we try. It's not that you fall down. It's okay to fall down and make a mistake. It's what you do while you're down there. Get back up. Keep going. Don't stay there.
Right. Right. It's incredible.
I don't believe in women preachers, but she's making a good case right there.
I know, I'm about to pull that offering plate out. Oh man, well that's awesome. This has been just an incredible story, and I would just say, our church, if you go online to tbcnow.org, we have a lot of ministries and programs that would help. We are part of Tabitha Ministry, of course. I'm thinking of All Armor of Light for Life, and I'm thinking of Restart. And so we've got a lot of different great ministries. But tell us real quick how, if somebody needed to get in contact or in touch with Tabitha's Ministries, what would they?
So we have a webpage, Tabitha's Ministry, and again, you will speak with Vita if you call that number. She is our administrator, and there's a application you can download. You can also call me at 336-202-4440. I will be glad to walk you through any program application that you need to walk through.
Where are you located?
We are located in Summerfield, North Carolina, and that's about 15 minutes from Greensboro.
Yeah.
Good.
Yeah, that's great. Well, thank you so much for listening today. This has been a great story. If you were encouraged or inspired by it, share it with somebody. Let somebody listen or watch this episode that may need just a little hope, a little extra oomph as we start this new year. So thank you so much for being here, and we'll see you on our next episode.
Thanks for joining us this week on TBC Today. We want to connect with you, so make sure to visit our website, tbcnow.org, and subscribe, rate, and review the show in iTunes, Spotify, or Amazon Music. Don't forget to share this episode with a friend, and be on the lookout for our next conversation.